What is up, Pitt fans? Thank you so much for tuning in to Inside the Panthers on YouTube. My name is Stephen Thompson, coming at you with another Inside Pitt practice report, our first one in a long time, because it is the first day of spring practices for the Pitt Panthers. Yes, they took the field at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex for the first time in an official capacity, in 2024 to begin spring ball. And this is a pivotal offseason for the Panthers. It already has been. They have undergone so many changes, such a tumultuous offseason. So much about this program looks and feels different, and in some senses that's a good thing. And in others it's bad. In other ways, maybe it's a little unnerving. But I think spring is a time when hope springs eternal, and this is the perfect time to load yourself up on the optimism. Quite honestly, I get it. Last year was a struggle. Optimism could be better accepted uh, following a year like 2021 or a year like 2022 when it feels like this program had a much more steady foundation. But uh, to feel like you should be optimistic at this time, and I believe you should be. It may sound like a cop out right now, but it's not. It is standard operating procedure for everyone in college football. Those cliches that you hear from Pat Narduzzi about everyone being bigger and stronger and faster, all the potential that you see in just about every player, it seems like it's not like Pat Narduzzi or Pitt. When you hear those guys say the same things every year, it sounds tedious and tiresome, but it's something that every coach and every player and every fan does across every fan base. So my advice to you would be to enjoy it right now. The struggles of 2023 were really well documented. They have been very well documented, and to that extent, they're not really worth reliving in much detail. This was a painful season. It was ugly. It's downright embarrassing at times, and if not for a couple of surprising ACC wins, it would have been completely forgettable in all of its parts. But this time of year, I find it not only natural but preferable to consider a team's ceiling because how far they can go is far more interesting than how short they can come up. Expectations aren't even that high for this Pitt team, but who knows? I mean, maybe Nate Yarnell is the guy. Maybe he commands Cade Bell's new offense really well and takes advantage of the fast pace and the talented playmakers that he's coming back as, and maybe those talented playmakers are thriving under a completely new coaching staff. Maybe the defensive line reloaded enough talent to survive the departure of Charlie Partridge, and those retained starters they have at linebacker and safety complement some new faces in the defensive backfield and at one or two spots at linebacker. Maybe Pitt looks like who they've been for the vast majority of Pat Narduzzi's tenure, and they return to a bowl game. I mean, seriously, who knows? We don't. I mean, we didn't expect a 3-9 year last year. We don't expect anything much more out of this year, except maybe a return to a bowl game. So who knows? We've been wrong before. We'll be wrong again. And in any event, I think this is the time to be optimistic. We can be nitpicky and cynical in December when the season's over and we have a full body of work in front of us, but we don't even know who this team is. It's March. Everything's in front of these guys. And so I think you got to save yourself from trouble and enjoy the new beginnings for now. I'm taking Donovan McMillan's advice and just appreciating not even advice, but just his train of thought. When he talked to us today, spoke about it being a new beginning. Nate Yarnell echoed this too, but there's a bad taste in their mouth from last season, and they're eager to wipe it out. And I think that should not only give you some optimism, but some confidence. This team is determined. They are clear eyed. They're focused. I think everyone knows now what it feels like to be a loser, to be quite honest with you, to go from 11 wins one year to nine the next year and then three the following year. There are guys who have been through all 3 years of that. And they are angry. They are frustrated. And they are determined to make sure things don't end up that way in 2024. One of the things that's making them optimistic, that is making them believe that they have something different in this 2024 Pitt team, is Cade Bell and the new offense that he brings to Pittsburgh, the new up tempo scheme that he's kind of attack that he's going to bring. Pat Narduzzi was very bold, I believe, in his opening statements. He has this offense playing as fast or practicing as fast as he wants them to play, early in spring practices on their first day. He wants them to match game tempo, and he wants them to play as fast as they or practice as fast as they are going to play, so it's not unfamiliar. He said that he doesn't expect this team to ever have a delay of game warning, at least during this season or as long as Cade Bell is coordinating the offense. That's something that you can mark down as something to watch as soon as the Panthers get their first delay of game, and I would have to imagine they get at least one if we're playing the odds during the regular season. But that's a quote that we're going to revisit. But I think it's more reflective of what he sees in this offense than a hard and fast prediction. He sees an offense that is not going to let a defense get set, that is not going to let a defense really think out what they're going to do to stop them. And that comes from Cade Bell. But on the field, and there's loads of potential with this offense. I'm sure they're decent playmakers. They think they have their quarterback. The offensive line is all coming back for mostly coming back for another season. So the personnel is in place, but the scheme is still a work in progress. It seems like when we were on the field for the first roughly half hour of practice, all of the offensive skill positions looked a little out of sorts, a little rusty, like they were still learning. And I think that's to be expected. This is not only a new scheme, but a new tempo, and they were running it full speed on their first day uh, as a team, as the team practicing together on the same field with all their coaches there, and with kind of a normal feel to it. So they were doing midseason things while they're in preseason, while they're at a preseason level of knowledge and a preseason level of experience with this new offense. That's not easy. And I think the Pitt staff recognizes that. They understand that there are going to be some mistakes. They're not necessarily going to tolerate them, but they're going to understand them. And they're going to come in with the understanding that, look, if we get these clunks out now, if we get these mistakes out now, they get these kinks out, uh, we can play a little bit faster later down the road. We can address them now when the plays don't actually matter, when they don't count for anything, and we'll get back in the film room. We'll tell guys, hey, you got to be here, you got to be here, you got to be here. Slow it down for them there, and that's how they will teach guys, and that's how they will get this offense actually ingrained in everyone's mind. You know, new wide receivers coach JJ Laster, excuse me, uh, said basically that in that many words. I'll read you a quote from him. Quote: "The thing is, we don't worry about if they mess up right now. We're worried about tempo. We'll correct them in the meeting rooms. That's when we'll be teachers and teach them. We're trying to get a lot of reps." I think the reps part is most important at this juncture. You know, I think come regular season, they'll practice fast because they want to play fast, and that will be about conditioning and timing and just making sure everyone's generally on the same page because you want to practice how you play in a game, if not harder than you would play in a game. But for right now, it's just about getting everyone uh, enough reps to see this thing live, see this thing on the field. When I was watching balls fly around on the turf, when I was watching guys uh, be a little off on their routes, when I was watching some overthrows from the quarterbacks, I didn't think in my mind, wow, this is an untalented group. I thought this is a group that is still kind of getting their sea legs under them in a new scheme with an entirely new offensive staff and with some new faces in there as well. There's some new weapons as well. And, CJ Reed, or excuse me, CJ Lee, Desmond Reed, Raphael Williams, Jake Overman. Uh, there's some new weapons that this team is going to get to play around with. And it seems like, at least for now, everyone's still kind of feeling each other out. They're still feeling themselves out. They're still feeling the new scheme out. So this is a work in progress for now. I don't think there's any reason to hit the panic button, excuse me, at this point because not only have we not seen it live, not only have the coaches not seen it against another opponent, but we haven't seen this thing operating at peak efficiency. We haven't seen it operating with everyone at the right knowledge level. So while it was a little sloppy on the first day, I don't think that's any major cause for concern for Pitt or any of their fans, to be quite honest. There is a clear guy who is going to be running that offense on the field, and we got to really meet him for the first time, it feels like, today. Nate Yarnell, named QB1. at least for spring practices over the summer by Pat Narduzzi and Cade Bell. Seems like they arrived at that decision together. Pat Narduzzi, says he doesn't get the final say on quarterback ordering or the quarterback depth chart, but you'd have to imagine that has at least some say in it. But he really likes Nate Yarnell. I think no, Coach Narduzzi does as a person and as a player. I think he and Yarnell see the game in a similar ways. I think they have some similar parts of their personality, and Narduzzi said that this is a long time coming for a guy like Yarnell. Narduzzi said he's believed in this guy for a couple years now, and it's all about getting the reps now. This is a guy who has shown some flashes of potential. He has played some decent games. Now he gets to really be the guy. Now he gets to, I don't know, play a little more comfortably. Play without someone looking over his shoulder. Play without trying to fight his way up the depth chart. He can be Nate Yarnell. He can throw the football. He can uh, try to be a little creative, making plays with his legs. He can really command this team. All that's left is for him to take it. And I think you could see that when we spoke to Nate today. Not only did I see someone who is confident, but I saw someone determined, and I saw someone really comfortable. And I can give you specific reasons for each of these things. I mean, the confidence, the guy can public speak, first of all. I don't think he'll have any trouble commanding a huddle, commanding an offensive meeting room or a locker room. This guy speaks like he has been a veteran for a long time. And I think that is reflective of what I remember hearing from his teammates last year when he made 2 starts to close the year against Boston College and Duke. And I think it's reflective in why he was chosen to be the guy in this moment, to take a new offense by the reins, to take an unfamiliar one, to take one that is so radically different from what he had learned through 2 years, as a Panther. They're trusting him with the keys now, and they really do believe in him, I think, and that's reflective of the kind of confidence that he has shown, not only in himself and his abilities, but he's been that way on the field. He has clearly been that way with his teammates as well, and with his coaches. I see a guy who's determined as well. I'll read you this quote directly, which I thought was somewhat stirring and somewhat reflective of the rest of the team and the situation that they're in, and just it all kind of emanates from this determination from Nate Yarnell to not only that he has to now that he has an opportunity to play, a chance to really prove himself and to stack some victories. I'll read this quote. Quote, I definitely sense a different vibe than last year. There's no room for complacency anymore. We're not here to be average. Last year, I think we obviously could have been better. Everyone knows that, and everyone feels sick about it. So we're all moving in the right direction. That's from Nate Yarnell, and I just, it's. I'm sure that is a sentiment that, like he said, is shared throughout the entire team. But you could see him in particular. I think he felt like I think he stewed a little bit, sitting on the sidelines watching Pitt lose, watching the offense be a little bit anemic, and I think it's natural for a guy who has such confidence in his abilities and is such a talented player to sit on the sidelines and say, "Well, hey, I could do better out there. Hey, I can help this team." And I think he sees some of the talent around him and says, "I'm sure those guys feel the same way." And I think that translates, to both the confidence and to his comfort. This is where Narnell feels like he should be. This is his spot. He doesn't have to fight anyone for a new position. He's not in a quarterback competition per se. He's got to defend his spot. He can't completely fall off. But he doesn't have someone breathing down his neck. He doesn't have someone listed as a co-starter. There won't be any kind of quarterback competition per se unless something really unforeseen happens. And I think that has made him comfortable not only leading this team, but playing and just throwing the ball. He doesn't, seem wound tight. It's there's a difference between determination and desperation. And I think if someone was in Yarnell's spot, I could imagine them feeling desperate, seeing taking over a 3-9 team, not having ever been higher than a QB3 on a depth chart entering spring ball or even fall practice or even a regular season. Um, you could imagine someone desperate to prove themselves in that scenario, and that's just not the read that I got from Nate Yarnell today. And he added in that he's played in an up tempo offense before. The stuff that is new to a lot of people isn't new to him, and it feels more like when he was in high school, when he was doing a lot of the same things, when he was, almost a surefire starter a lot of the time, when he was uh, one of the better players on the field most of the time, when he was commanding a team in that same way. And I'm sure that comfort has really translated and allowed him to open up himself to the rest of his teammates and show more of what he can do. He's playing more loose, playing less tight, and we'll see how that translates when he actually steps onto the field for a regular season game. But for right now, I think Yarnell checks all of the boxes that you would want off of you know limited opportunities in day one. But we'll see how it plays out onto the field. An exciting day one, an interesting day one, and there surely will be a lot in store as we move through spring ball and then into the regular over the through the summer and into the regular season, beginning with fall camp in August. So a lot more spring ball left and a lot more to talk about for these Pitt Panthers who have so many new moving parts, so many new parts, so many new faces, and we'll be here to report about it and break it down for you all throughout the spring and right up until that spring game on April 13th. Appreciate y'all tuning in to another Inside Pit Practice Report. My name is Stephen Thompson. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, and like this video, subscribing to us on YouTube. That's youtube.com/Inside the Panthers, and follow all our reporting at InsideThePanthers.com. Appreciate you all tuning in, and I will see you next time.